Well, good morning from Aktobe in central north central Kazakhstan. Man, this city is just covered in nice autumn colors. I love when the green turns into yellow, red and brown. Autumn colors are really amazing. So, I have like 2 hours to spend here in the city. It's actually a fairly big city, over 500,000 inhabitants. I'll just walk around a bit, visit some of the parks, some of the monuments, and then later I'll take a bus to the airport. This is the Central Culture Park, if I translated that correctly. Quite beautiful. They have like flowers here. And there's like almost no one here. There's like 5 other people around. Well, it's quite a nice morning. And they have a huge Kazakhstan flag up there. It's really a nice time of the year to come here. It's not hot, like summers here are quite hot and winters are really cold, like minus 20 degrees Celsius. But now it's like a perfect temperature. It's like 17 degrees maybe. It's sunny. It's good to walk around and the colors are beautiful. So I'd say it's a perfect time. Maybe spring is also a nice time, but don't plan on coming here in winter because it's freaking cold. Are those gallows? I don't know what it is. Looks interesting. Alright, that's it from Aktobe. I'd say let's grab some lunch and then head to the airport. I'm flying to Astana today on an airline called Qazaq Air. They operate the Dash 8-400 and they are like a regional airline here in Kazakhstan. So, lunch finished, it's time to leave Aktobe and go to Astana. You know, yesterday I was actually a bit confused as to whether the city is called Astana or Nur Sultan, because back in 2019 they changed the name officially from Astana to Nur Sultan. That's a fact I already knew. However, what I didn't know is that in September last year, 2022, they reverted that change and the city is now called Astana again. Funny enough, it actually holds a Guinness World Record for the capital city with the most name changes in modern times in the whole world. Fair enough. So let's go there, let's go to Astana.
I found a bus stop and saw a lot of buses passing by until the airport bus arrived, which was really crowded. They do have a QR code payment system, but as a foreigner it's not accessible and you are forced to use cash instead. The bus zigzagged around the neighborhoods and took over an hour to get to the airport. The airport had the same bus station atmosphere as the other Kazakhstan airports I'd used on this trip. I went to the check-in counter to print my boarding pass, which was fairly fast. The IT at this airport was seemingly outdated, with Windows XP being used for the screens and a rather old-fashioned display style. I then cleared security and found myself in a very basic airside area. This airport is really confusing for some reason. So on the departure board it says my flight departs from gates 3 and 5. Not 1 and 2, not 4 and 5, no, 3 and 5. And like when you pass security, you come to a very small waiting area, and I think there's a bus gate, not sure, but they don't have a screen. But then you can go like upstairs here to this separate waiting area. But there are no gate numbers. I don't even know where gates 3 and 5 are. I feel like in good old Central Asian tradition there might actually only be one gate, but we'll see. This waiting area is really small. There's a cafe, there are toilets. They do have a view of the apron though. So the airline we're flying today is Qazaq Air. They were established in 2015 and they operate a fleet of 5 Dash 8 Q400s. They have their hub in Astana and they operate like flights to a lot of regional destinations in Kazakhstan. I was able to check in for the flight online, however, I mean the website in general is also available in English, that's good, but the online check-in for some reason is only available in Kazakh or Russian actually. I don't know. I was able to manage to get through the process and I was able to generate a QR code. However, I thought it's still better to go to the counter and have a printed boarding pass. So, Qazaq Air, in case you're watching this, make your online check-in available in English too. Anyway, flight seems to be on time and I expect no disruptions for the flight to Astana. Soon the Dash 8400 arrived and taxied to the stand. A bus brought us out to the aircraft. On the way you could see workers doing some maintenance on the apron. My ride to Astana would be this 8.5-year-old Dash 8400 delivered new to Qazaq Air in June 2015. It features 78 seats in a regular 2-2 configuration.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Flight numbers 400. Aktobe to Astana. The flight time now will be 1 hour 50 minutes.
Now welcome aboard the Qazaq Air Dash 8Q400. Very spacious. The legroom is very nice. Pilot just made an announcement, also in English. That was also nice. So flight time to Astana will be like 1 hour 50 minutes, or almost 2 hours, and yeah, looking like an on-time departure. And also it's a completely full flight again. Airborne out of Aktobe, runway 12. We had to make a backtrack for departure to use the full length of the runway. And I have to say, I haven't had so many backtracks like on this trip in years. So just for some explanation, a backtrack is when there is no parallel taxiway to a runway, and the pilots actually have to taxi onto the runway and taxi it in the opposite direction to use the full runway length. And when they reach the end of the runway, they turn around. Most of the time there's a turn pad which they can use. Sometimes they also turn directly on the runway, and then they can take off in the takeoff direction. But I don't really know why in Central Asia there are so many airports that use this, because I mean they do have the space to build a taxiway, so why don't they just build a parallel taxiway? I don't really get it. Because a backtrack procedure limits the capacity of an airport significantly.
Ladies and gentlemen, our aircraft has reached its cruising altitude. You may adjust your seat back in the comfortable position. In a few minutes, you will be offered soft drinks, tea, coffee, and snacks. You can pay with cash and card. Thank you for your attention.
Also, the runway was very bumpy again. I mean, maybe the runway hasn't been upgraded in a few years, but I'm pretty sure that once Kazakhstan decides to renew that runway, they will do it differently. The flight continued uneventfully, so I had a closer look at the seat area. As I folded down the table, I discovered a bit of an issue. Turned out it was slightly loose, and I cannot imagine anyone putting a drink on this table. Speaking of drinks, the menu card looked like it hadn't been replaced since they introduced the aircraft 8 years ago. I have to say, the cabin doesn't look the newest anymore. The tray table is kind of falling apart. It's also not the cleanest cabin, and there's some unidentified stuff at the window. I don't know what that is. And the window is kind of dirty as well. So this aircraft, the Delta Hotel 001, was I think the first aircraft they took in 2015. It's 8.5 years old, and I believe they haven't exchanged the cabin since then. And I also have to say they probably haven't really maintained it. One more thing I noticed was that the window blind was very hard to move. We continued our flight over the open lands and the clouds until the sunset kicked in and we started our descent towards Astana.
Ladies and gentlemen, the captain switch on the sign. Fasten seatbelt. Our plane is descending overhead at Astana Airport in 20 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have just an Astana airport. Local time is 6:57 p.m. The temperature plus 14 degrees. We have Qazaq Air flying with us. For your blessing at all aircraft. Thank you for your attention.
And welcome to Astana. After deboarding, I caught a quick glimpse of a Qazaq Airlines CRJ-200. Would be a cool plane to fly in. There were also some other interesting aircraft around here.
Made it to Astana, the capital of Kazakhstan. And we did it on Qazaq Air. Well, actually it's nothing to get too excited about. Qazaq Air, you really need to maintain your cabin better. It's only 8 years old, shouldn't look like that. Anyway, I'm catching a bus to the city, number 10 or 12. Hopefully it doesn't take too long.
The ride to town takes about half an hour. On the way you pass the Grand Mosque of Astana, which looks really impressive.
Welcome to the Sart Hotel or Marriott, I don't know how it's currently called. Here right in the heart of Astana. Got a big bed, a desk, and we do have a view as well. Astana in all its shiny glory. Bus from the airport took 35 minutes, and just as an advice, if you pay cash to the driver, make sure he gives you a receipt, because at some point during the drive a conductor entered the bus and she wanted to see my ticket, which I obviously didn't have because the driver never gave me a receipt for my cash payment. And it took a long time and a lot of convincing until she let go of me. So yeah, always insist on a receipt if you pay cash. And paying cash is really your only option as a foreigner here in Astana. Like, there is an app and there is a local card, like a transportation card, which most people use here. But the problem is, like, I asked at the hotel reception if there's a way for me to actually use it, but she said it only works with local bank cards and not like international credit cards and stuff, which is really annoying. Anyway, last night in Kazakhstan, I'm gonna have some dinner, and tomorrow I'm flying from here directly to Frankfurt. I'm sure you can already guess the airline, but if not, you have to wait until next week and subscribe. Until then, enjoy your travels.